Good morning, everybody. Paul Diebold, Irvington Historical Society. We're here at 47 South Johnson Avenue in Old Irvington, and we're going to talk today about Irvington's row houses. Now, these unique structures, and Irvington has 4 of them really, are all very close to Washington Street, and this was one of the first one of the group that was built. And this is called Maplewood Court. These were completed in 1917 to the designs of architect W.C. Gardner, who was working with the Bryden family. So at that time, this leg of South Johnson Avenue, if you go just up this way, you get to the Irving Theater, which had just been built, and the Masonic Hall, which was yet to be built in 1921. So you get to one of the main corners, and so you do have double houses and multi-family housing extending this way because, of course, that was close to the trolley line. The Bryden family owned a lot of this land, and in fact, from about 1915 to about 1920, they effectively built most of this block out. They built these roadhouses. They built a number of houses on Johnson Avenue. And then we'll see later they built another row house unit nearby that we can see from this vantage point back here. So we're back at the back of the lot, which is an angle you don't usually see. Usually you're out on the street over here on Johnson Avenue looking down this long lane. An interesting aspect, a kind of a real estate aspect to this, is that these were not individually owned. These were apartments. So this was townhouse apartment living, if you will. And of course, the attraction would be that each one of these units, like the one behind me, they had everything an American four-square house would have. They had a full porch, they had a living room, dining room, kitchen, of course, second floor with bedrooms, and some of them even have finished attic space. So they were quite generous for apartment living in Indianapolis in 1917. Very home-like, which I think is what the Brydens wanted. So this kind of row house architecture, of course, it derives from the American four-square single-family house, and you can very plainly see in the image behind me that they simply have conjoined these American four-square houses and made multiple units with firewalls between them. But then the porch kind of gives an individuality to each unit. So we're back in the driveway here. Originally, this was 2 strips of concrete with grass in between, and you just had to very carefully drive on the strips of paving to get back to the parking area. Steve is going to pan the camera around, and you will see that we're not sure exactly when, but probably very shortly after construction. We're in the auto age in 1917. The Model T is already out there, and these were fairly middle-class folks that lived in these row houses, so they probably could afford a car. Each unit was given a parking space. And also you can see there is a small caretaker cottage that is kind of like a small American four-square, and I believe that also has the boiler for the whole development. And then now from where Steve is panning to, further back you can see another row house development. That too was made by the Bryden family. We don't have an architect for that one, but I would surmise that Mr. Gardner probably designed that one. Those are all brick, slightly different in style, so you had a good deal of variety in the architecture. The other row house unit, of course, that most people think of is Audubon Court, which dates maybe just slightly earlier, 1914, and Merritt Carr was the architect there. And that too, of course, has the individual townhouse type units, although some of the units were altered later to be sort of single level flat type units. And then further out on Washington Street towards Arlington, you have the Washington Arlington row houses. Those look like these row houses, but my understanding is their individual units are more like a flat, a one-level dwelling. So the architecture here is arts and crafts and inspiration. You can see the stucco and half timbering has maybe a little bit of a Tudor revival flavor to it, but it's very almost a little bit more prairie looking, and there's a nice texture on that stucco. So you have the brick, the stucco, the division between the floors, the same kinds of treatments that you would have on an American four-square type house. So that pretty much wraps up what we have for you today. We hope you're enjoying these. We intend to keep going on with these as long as we can, as long as we have subjects to discuss. And we hope you're ready for fall. And we hope you're staying safe and healthy. We're going to close out with yet another appeal. Of course, we've had some events, we've had some success keeping the funds coming in, but we have the Bona Thompson Center to support, and we ask for your support. So we will see you next week. We thank you for your attention today and hope you're doing well. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.